Let's get this started. So welcome. We are here for Revit Documentation Reinvented Smarter Workflows for Better Project Outcomes webinar. And without further ado, you came here to listen to Nanad Garwadi, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Nanad, who is a licensed architect and lead green associate. He's a technical evangelist helping AEC professionals really enhance Revit documentation workflows. Has an extensive BIM and architectural experience with firms like HOK, Gensler, Upcodes, and all of the above. He's passionate about bridging design and technology to deliver smarter project outcomes. And lastly, he is an advocate for innovation and efficiency in the AEC industry, which is what we are all about. So without further ado, let me stop speaking and let Ninad do his thing. So just give me one moment and we're going to get this started.
And for us to present Ideate Software as a solution to improving your Revit workflows to ensure successful project outcomes. My name is Ninad Garwade. I'm a licensed architect with experience working at firms like Handel Architects, HOK, and Gensler, mainly in the United States. And the firms I've worked at, Ideate tools were really indispensable for managing the design, documentation, and construction of really complex fast-track projects with large international teams. And I've also previously led customer success at Upcodes, which is a B2B SaaS startup. So I understand both the design and implementation sides of AEC tech. At Ideate, I'm here with our stellar technical team as your strategic partner, ensuring you not only adopt our tools successfully, but also unlock their full potential to transform your BIM workflows and eventually drive project success. So who are we? I want to talk to you about a bit about Ideate Software if you're not familiar with us already. Ideate Software is a lot more than just software. We are known for our extensive online help system, including product documentation, workflow topics, and educational videos. We support the current version of Revit and the 3 prior versions as well. So we currently support Revit 2023 to 2026. And where possible, we actually build Revit version-specific features to take advantage of any additional benefits of those releases. Our software is available in 10 languages for customers who use our software in almost every geographical region, really, with a fantastic technical team that is here to support you on your journey. So if you're considering adding Ideate Software to your set of tools, we also offer online ROI calculators for your use. Let's go everything we will be discussing today. We are going to be covering a lot of ground today, mainly covering how you can reinvent your current Revit processes to save time and effort. To that effect, we will be talking specifically about the use of Ideate tools to perform tasks that are typically not possible with Revit tools, and also tasks that augment and extend existing Revit features. We'll begin with Ideate Explorer, which is a really powerful Revit browser that helps you navigate your model, locate specific elements, and address model warnings really easily. Next, we look at Ideate BIMlink, which is a robust solution that enables you to export model data to Excel, modify the data, and then import it back into your Revit model and push those changes out across your model. If you frequently work with non-BIM data in Excel, Word, or PDFs, you'll find Sticky to be extremely useful for bringing that content into Revit. And after Sticky, we'll cover Style Manager, which allows you to manage styles, materials, and parameters, amongst other things, within your model. And finally, we'll explore Apps, a collection of tools designed to simplify and automate many of the tedious manual tasks that you encounter on a regular basis in Revit. Let's talk first about Ideate Explorer. Explorer shows every instance of building elements in your model, giving you full visibility and control over them. You can easily swap instances or families, edit properties, audit elements, and review Revit warnings, all from one place. And unlike the built-in Revit Manager, our solution allows you to interact with the model while reviewing the model, making that process a little easier and more efficient. You can also extract these warnings and save them to Excel for an easy review process without getting into the model. The warnings are all ranked as well. They can be customized. So the most important warnings surface to the top and the least important warnings are pushed to the bottom. And the rankings are included in those Excel exports. As a BIM lead on my project at HOK, Ideate's query-based search helped me support my team's needs faster and gave us a lot more confidence in our models, really. And I will show you how that works in an upcoming demo. Let's talk about Ideate Style Manager. So Ideate Explorer is really great for auditing model elements, but what about all the styles behind those elements, right? So in Revit, every 2D and 3D element is tied to things like object styles, line styles, materials, fill patterns, etc. And managing all of that manually can be a real mess. So that's where Ideate Style Manager comes in. It gives you a clear view of where styles are used across your model and even within families. Once you identify what's in use, you can merge styles or delete unused styles, duplicate styles to align everything within your BIM standards. And so the result is a cleaner, more consistent Revit model that's easier to manage and share. We'll walk through how this works in just a bit, but know that Style Manager is a real good companion to Explorer when it comes to keeping your models under control. Now let's talk about Ideate BIMlink. So BIMlink gives you the power to manage massive amounts of Revit data fast. It allows you to export parameters and properties to Excel, where it's much easier to review and make edits. And once you're done, you can push those changes right back into your Revit models seamlessly. So let's be honest here. So Revit schedules are powerful, but they can't match the flexibility of Excel, as some of you can imagine. With BIMlink, you get a clean, efficient interface between Revit and Excel, and that makes your data management faster, easier, and way more accurate. We also ship BIMlink with pre-configured templates for exporting data, so you can start being productive right away without having to spend time setting everything up from scratch. So it really is a game changer for anyone looking to take control of their Revit data and modify it. Ideate Sticky. So Ideate Sticky lets you bring non-BIM data into Revit quickly and cleanly. It is different from BIMlink in the sense that it will not impact the elements in your model, but you can link Excel, Word, or PDF documents directly into your model while keeping their native formatting and visual fidelity intact. This is perfect for things like sheet specifications, code lists, code studies, notes, and any other reference info that needs to be visible and always up to date. And instead of creating this content manually in Revit, Sticky keeps it synced and looking exactly how it should. It's a simple but really powerful way to ensure that critical non-BIM data stays a part of your project without breaking your workflows. And we'll show you how easy it is to set up during a demo. Ideate apps. What are Ideate apps? Ideate apps are a collection of tools designed to handle the repetitive and time-consuming tasks we all face in Revit, right? So instead of spending hours on things like renumbering, finding hidden elements, placing views on sheets, Ideate apps helps you do it a lot faster, a lot accurately, and with a lot less frustration. It's made up of 10 focus tools, each one built to solve a specific pain point. So whether it's checking spellings, safely deleting elements, or managing views and sheets more efficiently, all of these tools are broken up to help you with those tasks. The real power here is how much time and energy you save across a project. It's not about working smarter. It's not about working harder. It's about working smarter and making your Revit experience smoother every step of the way. So we'll show you a few of these tools live so you can see how much of a difference they can make in your regular workflows. Let's jump into some demos, starting with Ideate Explorer, and specifically how it can help with navigating through your model. Ideate Explorer provides you a high level of all the items within your Revit model, along with other helpful information like counts and properties. Additional filtering and sorting options at the top allow you to explore the model in a really detailed manner. So for example, you can choose to view everything in your model, narrow it down to the current view you're in, or create a list based on your current activities selection. For more precise control, you can layer on a sorting condition where you can organize items in the list by category, level, room, space, etc. And additionally, you can also apply Ideate's pre-built filter or custom filters that help you narrow down exactly what you want to see. So in this example, we're going to look for a specific window in the project. And by expanding the list, we can narrow down to a specific type of instance, and double-clicking the instance will open a view showing the element. In this case, we are looking for a specific piece of casework in the model. It's inside the model, so double-clicking on it will not show me the exact piece. But what I can do is I can create a section box around the item. So it'll actually create a specific view that is cropped to see exactly what you want to see. It's a super easy way of narrowing down your view without spending time searching for a specific item. Let's look at how you can leverage one of Ideate's built-in filters. With Ideate Explorer open, I start by selecting the pre-built Ideate Audit filter. We can see that in the list, there are items that may be impacting the performance of your model, such as CAD and PDF imports, lines and groups, etc. Let's look at a specific import that seems to have been brought in twice in the model. So in this case, it will be a CAD import. On expanding the import, you can see that there are two instances in the model. So by double-clicking the first, it opens a view where the import has been placed. There's nothing special here. So let's look at the second import and see where it has been placed. And it looks like this element has been hidden. Ideate Explorer will actually go to the view and unhide the element for you. And there you go. It looks like the DWG has been imported in the site plan. And at this point, you can click on Ideate Query to investigate more details about the instance and search for specific properties of that instance. So for example, you can look for who has created that particular instance, and it'll give you more insight into that specific element. You can also view groups in the Explorer as part of the list of items that can be audited. Really helpful in example where detail lines are used within a group. By checking the box next to the instance in Explorer, you can select all the instances of the group in the model. And upon editing the group, you can choose to use a detailed component instead of detailed lines. So I'm going to go ahead and double click this particular group and replace it with a detailed component. And once you place the component, of course, you can go ahead and delete those lines. And once saved, you can see that the group has been updated everywhere. And so again, this is a quick and easy way of trying to clean up your model versus an ad hoc exploration of the model to fix issues. Let's talk about lines really quickly. Ideate Explorer groups line types and instances into detailed lines and model lines. Again, you can see the line type and count in Explorer, and expanding a type will show you all the instances of the line in the model. So in this example, you can check the box next to the line type, and they actually get selected in the model. Similarly, you can also select other non-standard line types. So I've selected a couple here, and then you can change all of them into a specific line type that aligns with your business standards. Something that makes Explorer unique and powerful is dynamic filters. When you have Explorer open, you can see a list of everything that has been built in the model. So let's say as part of the model review, you want to look at in-place families only. With filters, you can narrow down the list to multi-category in-place families as shown here. You can see the different types of families in your model that match that criteria. Now let's look at how the filter is set up. You can also create your own rules for the filter, by the way. On the list on the left, you can see the different categories of elements in the model, and several of them have been checked. You can also view and edit additional conditions on the right. And in this case, we are saying that the value of the is in place parameter is equal to true. Now, this is not a Revit property, which means that you can use custom parameters as filters as well. Now, what can you do with this list? By checking all of them, you can now isolate the items and go through your cleanup or auditing or design process. You can quickly replicate instances within the model. And as you can see, the count against that item goes up in Explorer. So that's what we call dynamic filtering. Let's talk about how you can leverage sorting in Explorer now. So sorting is a powerful way to group model elements based on their properties. So things like work sets, levels, rooms, spaces, and more. Here is an example of items sorted by level. So while looking through the list, you will note that there are doors that are not on the correct level. I know that there are no doors supposed to be on this level. So you can select them and quickly move them to the correct level from the properties drop-down menu. You can see how the doors have now moved down to the correct level. Now, as an example of our tools and workflows working seamlessly together, sorting is particularly helpful when used along with filters. So for example, if your task is cleaning up work sets, you can first sort all the elements by work sets. In this case, you select the entire work set. The work set selection will be grayed out because you're selecting elements and groups that are non-editable. When you layer on a pre-built multi-category editable workset filter, you can select the individual items within an editable workset, so you can move them to the appropriate workset. If you're trying to clean up your model and make sure everything is in the right workset, you can use Explorer with sorting and filtering to do this really quickly and accurately without having to navigate through the model and checking each element one at a time. One last example of Ideate Explorer is the Warnings Manager. The Warnings Manager is built into Ideate Explorer. The default Revit Warning Manager is pretty overwhelming, which is why we've built our own tool. With the Ideate Warning Manager, you can also customize the order in which warnings are listed and rank them however you want. So in this case, let's say you have a floor overlap, and you can manually toggle that to a high priority example. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll to that particular example and change the rank of that specific condition to high. And just as an example, that actually shows up in the Warnings Manager as well in Explorer. Now let's look at the specific stair warning. You can choose the warning and create a section box around that specific element included in the warning. So you're viewing the issue in contextual detail, and you can then address the issue. So it really allows you to zoom into the problem area and take action based on what's happening in the model. Now, in this case of overlapping floors, Ideate will take you to a view that shows you the condition. With the elements then selected, you can isolate them, view the overlapping condition, address it in the active view, and then go back to the warnings list. And once you updated that, the warnings list will be updated as well. Now let's look at another warning, which says that there are identical instances of elements in the same place. So it looks like someone may have accidentally copied a set of elements in the same location, creating an overlap. There may be annotations and tags associated with the original items, and you may not want to lose them. So Ideate will allow you to retain the original items or the latest items, making it easy to delete unnecessary copies. If you just discovered the issue, you can delete the latest elements and all the original elements and the other dependencies stay in place. And in this case, we're looking at room separators, which can be really hard to find, especially if it's placed under a wall or location similar to that. So Ideate allows you to quickly locate and select the separators, and then you can modify them, saving you time and having to find them manually. The concept behind Style Manager is fairly straightforward. It is a hub that allows you to manage styles in the model across different items, things like objects, lines, patterns, regions, materials, etc. When you select a certain type of item, Style Manager shows you a list of all the different types under that item. Items that are colored are duplicates, in case you're wondering what those colors mean. Now let's, as an example, browse through line patterns. One way to use this tool is to clean up imported CAD line patterns. You can see duplicated imported line patterns here. So to effectively use this tool, you must first analyze the items in the list. After you analyze an item, you will be able to see the count in the column on the left. If it says 0, it means that a pattern is not being used anywhere and it is safe to delete it. The tool allows you to safely identify items in use before you delete them. Now in this example, you can see two patterns which look like they're the same pattern with different names. You can see what this pattern looks like on the right. When you select the items, it will list the locations where they're being used. You can also merge patterns once you review the usage and have identified them as being duplicates. When you click on merge, you can select the base pattern that you want to keep, as you can see here. So now you can go back to the merge pattern and rename it to match your project or BIM standards and make it easily identifiable. You can also analyze materials being used in the project. On analyzing a material, you can see a lot of information right in the window, like style info and where the material is being used. You can also analyze and merge materials using Style Manager this way. Style Manager also works the same way with filters. You can identify where filters are being used and quickly audit which filters are redundant and can be deleted. Style Manager can also help you with family and project parameters. When you fire up the tool, the tab is available on the right-hand side of the window. On clicking it, the tool reviews parameters in project title blocks first because they are in labels and are hard to find. You can access the search bar at the top or narrow down the parameters based on whether they're project or shared parameters. You can also highlight and isolate duplicates, analyze them, and then delete them if needed. Now, in this example, I'm trying to search for a specific parameter called acoustic rating using the search bar at the top. On clicking Analyze, the tool will list all the details of the parameter. But you'll notice that while there are no instances found, there also is a question mark in the count. And that's because the initial analysis is quick. You can choose to run a deeper analysis as well and take it a step further to analyze or use the parameters within schedules and title block families. Now, when those options are checked, you can see it takes slightly longer for the analysis to run, but Style Manager is able to pull up the schedules where the parameter is being used within a family. Now let's clear the search and browse through the list for some duplicates. I'm going to analyze these two parameters that are duplicates, and when I do it, you can see that the first parameter is in use in two locations, but the second one is not. Style Manager also provides you with additional context about the usage, so you can see where the parameter is being used. Once you reviewed all this information, you can safely delete this parameter, knowing that it will not affect anything else in the model. Moving on to the next tool, which is Ideate BIMlink. BIMlink is a powerful tool that allows you to export data from Revit to easily manage and edit properties and parameters in large sets. So think door schedules, wall types, sheets, and the like. This data is collated by creating what is called a link definition. On opening the tool, you can see that I already have link definitions set up in the model. So let's talk a little bit more about what that means. When I click on New, it'll bring up a new window where I can start defining exactly what information I need collated. BIMlink ships with a couple of hundred pre-built definitions. You can see that these are saved in your local Ideate installation folder visible here on the left. When using BIMlink, you can search through these to narrow down what you're looking at. You can include subfolders within the primary search as well. You can collate data beyond just schedules or by specific discipline like architectural, MEP, or structural. And as an example, let's say I want to create an exportable Excel file with door types in the project in an organized manner. You can use the Edit Door Types link. Anything here that is in white is editable. So let's take a look at the doors themselves by using another pre-built definition called doors. Much like a Revit schedule, you can add and remove properties to the link definition, and BIMlink will collate the information as needed. You can also look for related data tables, not just specific element properties. So in this example, you can look at host walls, door location coordinates, fire ratings, etc. You can add any information to a table that will not help you parse through all the data, but also make bulk changes to Revit elements outside of Revit and bring those updates back into Revit. We also have several pre-built Kobe link definitions that you can use to create Revit elements, things like views, sheets, parameters, health check definitions, and project standard definitions. In this example, you can see that I've created a list of floor types in the Revit model, and I can easily edit properties for types that appear in the list simply by typing in information into open fields. Here's a list of quality control definitions that come pre-populated as well. You can control family naming, manage work sets, project parameters, view templates, and a lot more. Now, sheet revisions is a very common use case for BIMlink as well. You can export sheet lists out of Revit, make changes in bulk, things like revision numbers, issuance information, names, etc., and bring that data back into Revit, and it will push through those updates across the board without you having to do it manually. Material management is another common use case. You can use BIMlink to make bulk changes across your model without having to go through the entire model manually. You can change materials, wall layers, and the like. And in this case, I'm changing the finished material for a specific wall type in this list of wall types. And this will update the wall type across the project. I do not have to edit every wall manually to do this. You can also create BIM link definitions by category. So in this case, we want to analyze air terminals in the project and create an exportable file. BIM link will allow you to pull in any associated properties with that element to make it easy for you to export the data. BIM link can also be used with model schedules that you have already created. You can choose to export existing schedules without using Ideate's pre-built definitions. So it is really flexible and customizable in the way you want to use it. In this case, you can see an existing area schedule from Revit being defined in BIM link with all the header information intact. And you can add additional columns to it without impacting the schedule that already exists within the model. You can then export the schedule as an Excel file and open it, and you can see all the data here. All the fields in white are editable. Let's make some changes to the information in Excel by dragging some fields down to populate the table. You can use Excel as you need to modify item data, and you can then import the Excel file back into the model. On importing, BIM link shows you a report where it highlights items that have changed before you actually run the import. And once you do that, you can see all of the updated properties in the area schedules. BIM link is not only helpful in editing existing elements, but is also a really powerful tool you can leverage to create new elements in your model. We have quite a few pre-built definitions that you can use, as you can see here, to get started. When you open BIM link, click New. You can see all the pre-built definitions here and browse through the Create Elements folder and narrow down the list using the search bar at the top. When you enter that definition, you can see that there are predefined properties that you need to create sheets. It looks like there's a filter on here. So you can remove that and you can see all the existing sheets in the model. You can then export the file and open it in Excel. We ship our product with a project setup template, and that is what you see on the right. On the left is the Excel file we just exported. With Excel, of course, you can set up conditional formatting and filtering and sorting. So if you have a large set of sheets, you can freeze the header to make that easier to browse. The Excel file that is shipped as a sample file with BIM link, we have different tabs that are set up for creating new levels, plans, sheets, viewports, etc. What is important to note here is the ID column on the left. If it says new, it means that that element doesn't exist in Revit yet and is going to be created upon import. Now, within the template, the sheet name is a formula to allow the sheet name to match the view name that's placed on it. So you can set up all of this without even opening Revit. So we can copy over the sheets we need to be exported into the Excel file and then populate the Excel file as needed. So I'm going to say that I want to use the title block in the model and copy it down to all the sheets in the Excel file, and also change this value to true so all these sheets show up on the sheet index. If there is no title box selected, it will create a placeholder sheet. It's really great for things like creating sheets for consultants that will show up in the sheet index. You can use filters in Excel to highlight any duplicates as well, and then fix them prior to import, as you can see here. BIM link will, of course, highlight this for you before importing, but it's a good way to catch some errors upstream. On importing the file, you can see all the new sheets being highlighted with no errors, or just like that, all the new sheets have been created. Material quantity takeoff is also possible using Ideate BIM link. Whether you're tracking embodied carbon, producing estimates, or sharing data with colleagues who don't work in Revit, this functionality will help streamline collaboration and reduce reliance on manually opening large models. The Material QTO sample link definition under the Material Management folder in BIM link introduces a new data category, giving you more flexibility and detail than what's typically available even beyond Revit tools. And this feature enables you to export detailed material quantity data such as area, volume, type directly from your Revit models into Excel. So while the data itself isn't editable, having a quick, reliable access to it is incredibly valuable for a lot of project workflows. Ideate Sticky is a really popular tool that allows you to bring in non-BIM data into Revit. You can bring in Excel files as schedules or images, or Word or PDF files as well. Using Sticky is pretty straightforward. when you are in the Excel tab, you can click Create and create a new sticky schedule. You can link in the file you want to bring in, lighting specifications here as an example. You can also select the worksheet and the region within the Excel file, so it imports just that. And then the sticky is placed as a schedule on the sheet and is also listed as a schedule in the project browser. Sticky is populating all the information under schedule header. So when you select it, it looks like a schedule under properties in the project browser. And if you try to edit it, it will actually show you a pop-up letting you know that it's a sticky. You probably only want to edit it in Excel in the original location for it to be a single source of truth. If you don't want to bring it in as a schedule, you can bring the information in as an image. So you can link the same file in as an image, and you can look at what you will be bringing in. It looks a little different from the schedule because of the translation tool that we use. Now, let's say you want to edit the Excel file, change the name, for example, and the color of the background. Save and close the file and go back to Sticky in Revit. You can see the auto update checkbox here, and that updates the file the next time you open the model. So for now, you can click on update and that will refresh the information, and you'll see the updated information in Revit with the name change and the background. This is also a great tool to bring in things like specifications in Word and pulling in certain sheets from a Word document. You can see that workflow here where you can select certain Word pages and paste the sticky on your Revit sheet. Let's hop into our last suite of tools for the day, which is Ideate Apps. And specifically, let's start with the renumber tool. Ideate Renumber allows you to quickly and smartly renumber different items like doors, grids, furniture, etc. in your entire model. In this example, let's renumber rooms in this view. There are fields that allow you to control how the numbering system works and different methods by which you can renumber the rooms. In this example, we will choose to renumber elements by vertex. On drawing a line and adding vertices on top of rooms, you can renumber them in the order in which you place the vertexes. It will show you a preview of the changes before they are pushed out and allow you to do things like ignore certain rooms, as you can see here. Now, when you zoom in, you can see that the room numbers have been updated and ignored rooms have not been updated. Let's open the tool again and renumber the doors by view. Instead of selecting each door individually, you can choose to auto number the doors showing on this plan. Also, to allow you more control, you can swap the to and fro room so that the numbering aligns with the view instead of going to each door and doing it manually. You can choose to add a suffix as well as needed to help identify the doors as well. It will also renumber doors within groups. Another amazing feature of Renumber is that it also works in schedules. So you can sort elements in a customized way before running the renumber process. Let's talk about Smart Delete, which is another tool that lives within the Ideate Apps suite. I'm going to pull up the warnings tab under Idea Explorer that we spoke about a while ago. Let's look at the example of multiple instances of elements on top of one another. Let's say you discovered this issue later in the project, so you can't retain original or retain latest because the elements may have been tagged in some other view that you don't know about. This is where Smart Delete is most helpful. Smart Delete will tell you if the element has been annotated anywhere, which is dimensioned or tagged in any other view, and if the element is safe to be deleted. So here you can see that elements that have been bolded have dependencies. If you double click on the element, it will take you to the element in an active view. You can review the elements by their element IDs and also confirm that they are duplicated in place, and then delete the redundant ones. This will also update the warnings list in Ideate Explorer. Next up is Ideate X-ray. How many times have you been in a view trying to figure out why a certain element or tag is not showing up? Ideate X-ray allows you to identify the missing element in an intelligent manner. You can choose to select an area, and X-ray will list all the items within that selection box. In this example, you can see that the toilet fixture or the sink is missing, but it shows up in the list in X-ray. You can choose the element and run an analysis on it. X-ray parses through 50 different visibility conditions, and it tells you why the item is not visible. The results are also ordered in a specific hierarchy. The ones at the top of the list need to be addressed first before the results below it. This hierarchy is important. So in this case, you can see that the work set is not open, which you can then fix. Once that is done, you would go to the next solution, which is the view template. For some reasons, you can click fix and X-ray will fix the issue for you depending on certain conditions. So in this case, that is not possible. So you'll need to check or fix the view template manually. Now the element is still not showing up. So here it is hidden by element, which isn't a great way to hide things, but people do it anyway. Once you know, however, you can fix it manually, and that's what X-ray allows you to do. Next up is Ideate Annotate. Ideate Annotate is a really powerful tool that helps you manage annotations in your model. It's like Explorer in the way it works. It not only helps you browse through annotation elements, but also helps you review and fix annotation issues like zero-line dimensions, clashes, blank tags, orphan tags, duplicates, etc. Anything that makes your model busy and cluttered. It also flags annotation clashes, which is a big issue, making sure that your tags are legible. This is an overview of the issues with annotations in this model. Double-clicking the tags will take you to a view where those tags are visible. You can see the overlap here and modify it to avoid the overlap. You can also set thresholds for proximity of tags and dimensions and set that as a trigger for warnings. So here's a blank tag and you can delete it from Annotate. You can also dismiss issues if they're not important. If something is not visible in the view that you're in, you can also run X-ray and it'll bring up the X-ray window with possible solutions as we spoke about previously. Ideate's sheet management tools allow you a lot of control over sheets and views in your model compared to the out-of-the-box Revit tools. In this example, this project is large, and so you want to break it up into zones and track that across sheets in the model. So let's go ahead and open Ideate View Creator. Let's say you already set up the zones on one level and want to copy this across the other levels. You can create dependent views to match existing dependencies. So you can select the existing level and then apply the zones to other levels, and the tool will copy those settings across those levels. It'll also give you a preview of what it will look like before you proceed. So the tool adds scope boxes and applies it to the floor plan views that you can see in the project browser. The sheet manager is like Ideate Explorer. It's a tool that allows you to view all the sheets and views in your model and allows you to also perform actions on them, like creating new sheets or copying legends and views and schedules across sheets. In this example, we are creating a new sheet and immediately updating the sheet number and sheet name. After that sheet is created, I can place views directly on the sheet using Sheet Manager. You can also drag and drop views from one sheet to another. When you open the sheet, you can move the viewports around as needed. You can also copy legends and paste them on multiple sheets. You can use the clone tool to duplicate sheets, and the tool allows you to swap the views in the original sheet for new views on the new sheet. So here are the two sheets, and they are aligned because the views have been swapped, but the locations are in the same spot. Let's say you want to move the locations of the views on the sheet and the title positioning across sheets. In this example, I'm going to move the viewports as well as the titles, so they are different on the two sheets. On opening a line, you can select the base view or alignment view, and then the target view, which is the new sheet that we created. You can now see that the updated position of the view is visible on the screen. With View Creator, you can batch create multiple view types in your project, including multiple 3D views at once using view templates, levels, or scope boxes. Creating 3D views manually in Revit can be a slow, repetitive task, especially when you need to adjust view ranges or prepare views for export, like for NWC files. So with Ideate, you'll save significant time setting up 3D views. Let's take a look at how Ideate View Creator simplifies the creation of 3D views. What used to be a time-consuming manual task is now streamlined into a batch process. You can generate multiple 3D views at once using a combination of view templates, levels, and scope boxes, all while applying smart naming rules and optional sheet placement. Whether you need 3D views for coordination, visualization, or exporting NWC files, This feature will dramatically improve speed and maintain consistency across all your projects. As you can see in this example, we've created multiple views and placed them on sheets in a fraction of the time it would take otherwise. View Creator can also generate area plans using the elements-based views method. Creating area plans in native Revit typically involves several manual steps, defining schemes, selecting levels, and placing views one at a time. But now with View Creator, you can batch create area plan views automatically based on predefined settings. You can choose to place all the generated views on a single sheet or have each area view placed on its own sheet. View Creator is smart enough to auto-arrange views within the white space of the title block, minimizing the need for manual adjustments. And building on that, View Creator also supports spaces, a valuable workflow for MEP teams. You can also clone an existing sheet layout so each new view is placed consistently based on your template. Whether you're generating 3D views, enlarged floor plans, ceiling plans, or even elevations, you can quickly create and place views to selected spaces. As you can see here, you can also clone an existing sheet layout so each new view is placed consistently based on your template. With Ideate View Creator's element-based views method, you can now create dedicated views for individual curtain wall panels as well, saving you valuable time on facade documentation. This new feature automatically generates elevation views for curtain walls. It also applies the correct view types and places them neatly on sheets, making the documentation process much more efficient and consistent. Let's talk about another really helpful tool in this suite, which is the Align tool. Now, Ideate Align supports view alignment across linked models. This is a huge benefit for large multidisciplinary projects. You can now select a reference view from a linked model, so for example, an architectural view placed on a sheet, and then align views and titles in your own model to match that reference precisely. This is especially valuable when multiple teams need to coordinate view placements across disciplines, ensuring that architectural, electrical, RCP, and enlarged plans are visually aligned. It's not just about aesthetics, it also improves the document clarity and supports straight coordination. And as I mentioned, Ideate View Creator supports view positioning from linked files. This means that you can seamlessly align your views and view title positioning on sheets based on position information from linked files. If you're an HVAC consultant, a part of the core and shell team, or an interior designer working in separate models, you can now easily align your views and view title position to a base model. With position data set in the base model, you can easily align multiple sheets in your model, as in the example shown here, ensuring accuracy and consistency in your project documentation process. Let's talk about tagging, and specifically the Ideate Apps tool called Annotate, used for tagging. Manually tagging elements in Revit is time-consuming and an error-prone process. I'm sure most of you are aware of that. With Annotate Tag, you can automatically tag elements using customizable rules, and these rules will select elements to tag based on their parameter values and assign the appropriate tag family to use and determine tag positioning. So for example, you want to tag a floor plan, but you want rooms to be tagged differently from shelves. It allows you to batch tag elements that are selected by the rule. When tagging, you also have the option to include elements in all open views, so you can tag across multiple views and tag elements from a linked model as well. Let's look at an example of this. The rule here is to tag all rooms whose area is larger than 70 square feet and are only in phase 2. In addition to these filters, you can also choose where the tag appears, whether it is in the centroid of the room or in the true center of the room. There's no nuance with Revit tags, so you can't control much with the native Revit tagging feature. With Ideate tagging, you can actually set up rules and control the position, which is really helpful. If you use Revit's tag all for all elements, the tags go on top of each other and there's no way to fine tune the tagging. So in this case, you can see that you have 44 tags when you use Revit's tag all feature. But with Ideate tagging, you can build rules and have the tool tag elements in a very specific manner, allowing you more control than Revit's built-in tool. In this view, we are going to use the ignore small rooms rule, and you can see that the tool selects all the rooms that match the criteria. You can choose the option that allows you to tag rooms in all the open views as well. And that will tag rooms in the 3 open views that you see here on your screen. Another example of using tagging is when you are using linked models. Let's say a core and shell model and a linked DI model. You can add tags for rooms in all open views and rooms across all linked models to save time.